Um, we have 3 voting members. And so essentially what a voting member is an opportunity to cast an official ballot if we are trying to have a high-level decision, whether it's budgetary or whether it's curriculum-based or wherever it's just some major decision. It would be these people on this list. So you have your DAC liaison, which in this case is our PSP liaison. We've got the principal, which as far as I know, that's me. Then we have the chair, the vice chair, and the recorder. And so those would be the voting members of that decision-making model. And so for all intents and purposes, we need someone who is voted in. So we have 4 members for 3 positions, which is always nice. So we have a chair position, which essentially just helps me create the agenda and then technically runs the meeting, which really looks like me running the meeting. And then the vice chair, which supports the chair in case the chair is unable to attend. And then the recorder records the meeting, which looks a lot like me pushing the record button. So therefore that negates that position as well. So just kind of putting it out there to our voting members. And I've communicated to you guys privately of those who you are. So does anybody feel as though they would like to take on the chair role this year? Super. All right. So from there, does anybody think about the vice chair role? Vice chair, outstanding. And then
do you want me to be the PSP representative and the chair?
That'd be great. Perfect. Thanks so much for that.
And you can be the chair. Look, she's going to give the PSP up.
I love that. And we don't need a recorder. Yeah, so we don't need a recorder. So then the other 2 members, so Mr. Johnson, Mr. Ulrich, you guys can also be on there as well, just to, provided the voting members and without having to be in a recorder role. So that makes it really easy for all of us. All right, so from there, I am going to move on to the next slide, which is our SAC bylaws. And so, Ms. Ulrich, I'm going to have you just take one for the table. Ms. Ormsby just memorize those, I'm sure.
Done.
And I apologize, people online. I don't have any online copies. I said it's like a 17-page document, but if you want to go ahead and search those, if you can't sleep at night, please feel free to go to the Douglas County webpage under the SAC bylaws. You can see them on there. So take less than 12 seconds to look those over. If you'd like more time, I'd be more than happy to do so. But like I said, they haven't changed in about 10 years. All right, I got a thumbs up, so that works for me. All right, so from there, that moves into the principal update, which is pretty much what everybody's here for anyways. All right, so some of the main things that's happened so far this year. So our enrollment is right now, it is at 499. We will be officially 500 by the end of the week. It's dependent on if we get it by October count. And so for those of you who are unfamiliar, we are funded every year based on the number of students that we have at Cherokee Trail. So way back in February, we were given a number, and then we plan our entire budget based on that number. So our number last year was 466. And so that's what we are funded for way back in February. And as you can see, we are currently way above that right now. And so that's good news for us because the way our budget works is when October count comes, if we are above that 466, then we get extra money. If we are below that 466, then we have to pay money back. And so the previous 3 years, we've paid quite a large sum of money back to the district. I think last year we were close to 45 down. So it was, about $250,000 we had to pay back, which is never fun. But our budget has always been in line, which has been great for us. So this year, as you can see by the handout there, or the projection, is about 311,236 extra funds coming into TT. So that is a significant amount of money that we're pretty pleased about. At the same time, we're also bursting at the seams. We were not expecting this amount of students to come in. We jumped from roughly about 485 to 500 in about the last week of school, or last week of summer before school started. And so our class sizes in kindergarten were sitting at about 28 apiece, which is not the way we like to operate here. So we ended up hiring a kindergarten teacher, and then we also ended up hiring a first grade teacher as well, since our numbers were so high. It's been a budget priority for our SAC as long as I've been here to have low class size. And so one of the things that we have done is we have foregone having an AE assistant principal. So it's just me, myself, and I. And so we rather would put the money back where it matters and having low class size. And so we hired a fourth kindergarten teacher and a fourth first grade teacher, and we now have teachers in basically every single room in this entire building and one outside. We were just talking in our PSP meeting, every single room in this building is being utilized in some way, shape, or form. So we were about this close from retrofitting our teacher's lounge into a classroom, but luckily we did not have to do that. Something else that is new this year, we've also added 2 new specials. We have not had those traditionally in the past. We've always had art, music, and PE. Just coming off the pandemic, we realized we had some pretty serious needs, social emotional for kids, and we also needed to kind of start moving back to more of that STEAM model. We have not been able to do that in the last couple of years just based on COVID and other circumstances. And so we have added a STEAM special and also an SEL special, which is social emotional learning, to go along with our library. So now our kids have 6 specials. They go to second specials 3 times a week, and they go to their other specials 5 days a week. And so that's been a really big push for us. And we've been really, oh, Mr. Johnson, do you have a question? Jump right in.
Yeah, hey, I'm sorry. I actually have 2 and I might have missed it. So the extra budget is sorry about that.
No worries.
So the extra budget is $311,000. What is the total budget, and then what is the school the classroom sizes now with the new teachers?
Yeah, so our biggest class right now is 24, and I believe that is in, I'm looking at 24. Yeah, so Mrs. Duncan's 4th class is 24. That's our largest class. Our overall budget is about 1.7 million. When we get into February, Mr. Johnston, we'll be able to go line by line through the budget, and that's some of the things that we talk about in our budget priorities. That's that's a pretty close ballpark. With that extra $311,000, I'm not exactly sure, but that's about roughly what it is every year. So I always say I'm the CEO of a $1.7 million company. It's always fun to say.
Great, thanks.
No problem. The other thing, and feel free just to raise your hand if anything else comes up. The other thing that's on there, the intervention time. And so we knew that our kids could potentially be significantly below grade level when they come in. And so we have allotted 30 minutes for every single class period, every single class, every single day, to have targeted intervention time. And so they were not exposed to, essentially, we are taking that time so we can have interventions. So we have our interventionists in the building enter the classroom, and they work with kids of all levels. We work with our kids who are above grade level. We work with kids who are at grade level, and we work with our kids who are below grade level. And that's just a targeted time where we can really pull out small groups because we kind of flood the classrooms with adults. And so that way we can really target some of those gaps the kids have, or then extend the learning for other kids as well. And that's been a huge boost for us. We've never had that before. And already we're seeing the benefits. It's a different model for our teachers. And so for them, it's an opportunity for them to be able to, again, work with kids in really, really small groups. And it also really helps streamline our special education population. For those of you who are not familiar, we're close to 40% of our kids are on some sort of plan. And so that gives our special ed providers a chance to really get in there and work with some small groups and some targeted time. And at the same time, they're not pulling those kids out of regular instruction. So they're still exposed to grade level instruction for the majority of the day. Then the last piece that we've added this year is we've added a math block. And so between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock every single day, every single classroom in our building, with the exception of 6th grade, is all in mathematics. And so that way, if we have kids that need to be pushed up to another grade level, they don't have to miss their regular classroom time. They can move up into another grade. And that way that we are now streamlined with Sierra to help us kind of build a model where we can have some students accelerate in math, which again, we've not had that before. In addition to our 2 specialists, since they are full-time employees, one is also taken on what we call response interventions. So a lot of the teachers who have students who are struggling, who are not on plans, they meet with her to help plan out support for them. And then our STEAM teacher is also our math interventionist. So on Mondays and Fridays, she works with our kids who are below grade level in mathematics and helps them close the gaps, which again, that's something we've not had before as well. Any questions on that before I move on?
I do have a question, if you don't mind.
I never mind.
This jump in enrollment, can we talk about this for a couple of seconds?
Sure.
I'm always a huge fan. I absolutely adore Cherokee Trail, and I absolutely love it that we're getting this jump. Talk to me about the why. I attribute it to the discussion of the district boundary map changing next year, and kids if they're going into kindergarten, I don't want to start my first grade year at Cherokee Trail. Let's go ahead and do that now. That's I don't want to call it an assumption. That's my inferring type of thing, I would call it. What do you infer?
That's a great question. And so what Mrs. Schroeder is referring to is Prairie Crossing is over capacity. And that is a school that is just south and a little bit west of us. And so what the district has done is redrawn some of the boundaries. For us, it was not a significant change. There was a neighborhood that is south and a little bit east of us, kind of behind that Taco Bell. It's a group of about 30 homes, which was originally targeted to Prairie Crossing. So those kids would get on a bus. They would drive by our school every day on their way to Prairie Crossing. And so then we absorbed those kids starting essentially, they were given a choice for those students to come over, or any kindergarten students future coming into our building would then be brought into our building. We were slated to get roughly 60 students. I think we got 4 from that group. So it really wasn't a very significant impact for us anyways. I think where the other students came from, we've got some family recruitment based on some of our family members recruited some other families to come join us. I think that's part of it. We had a significant amount of students coming over from online learning that we got back in the building. We've got some new families in from a neighborhood of Newtown, which is just kind of off of Main Street there. And then other than that, we're not really 100% sure where a lot of these families came from, but we are awfully excited to have them in. We've got a lot of brand new families. We've got 86 new families, which is more families than, we haven't been to 500 since at least 4 or 5 years. I'm looking at Lacey, who's been here about as long as I have. And I can't remember the last time we were at 500. So it's been a great boon for us. I wish I could explain it better. I'd like to say it's because of our staff, that's really what I'd like to say. And that's probably the truth, is they do such a great job with kids. So the word's out.
Hey, that's why we're there.
Like I see on social media, people be like, "Hey, what's the best school around?" Or let's compare this elementary with this charter school, and people
Hands
rave
down.
about Cherokee Trail. I'm not kidding.
The feeder principals also would rave about Cherokee Trail.
Yeah,
Like, it is hands down on social media.
I-
Everybody talks about Cherokee Trail.
They truly do. I always see like wonderful things said about it. So how many kids do we have that are choiced in, that are not in our boundaries? Do you have any idea?
That's a great question.
A lot.
Yeah, we've got quite a few.
So it really is like word of mouth and like people that want to be here.
And even when people leave, they don't leave the school. They drive their kids.
Yes,
I
and
have
they
like
do.
3 families from last year and they're not in Cherokee Trail anymore and they're coming here.
Mm-hmm.
One from Aurora.
I have a couple from Aurora, yeah.
Yeah, and I think part of the other reason too is we've got quite a few staff members who have kids here as well. So I think that always helps. That always helps too. So
Is there a number that you would like stop taking choice kids? Like say we're at capacity?
I would say if we start getting our class sizes above 25, 26, I would close open enrollment. We always have to take kids that live within our boundary areas, but we want to keep our class sizes low.
I have a question.
Sure.
I guess along those lines, because it sounds like you're kind of inferring that we're at capacity with, we had to hire another kindergarten teacher, and you a little bit joked about, turning the teacher's lounge into a classroom. Is it that we're at capacity and there's worry that next year, do we stop taking a certain amount of kids or choice kids, or we expand the school? How does that work?
What hindered us this year is we also have 3 preschools in our building, which is taking up a significant amount of space. And so we were working throughout the summer to try to relieve ourselves of 2 of those preschools, which then frees up 2 classrooms. If we can even free up 1 classroom, then a classroom outside moves back in and there's no more issues. And so we are not to the point where we are over capacity. We are just at the point where we're out of space. Yep.
And Josh, I was just gonna add on too, when we get all of these new students, it's incredible, but you never know what grade they're gonna be in. So we got bombarded with
Yeah.
90 and first grade kiddos, which required adding 2 more or 1 more in each of those grades.
Yep.
So it's always kind of a crapshoot too, to see what age these kids will come in at and what they need.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
especially that's-
I feel like you guys have a reputation that's on a positive compared to some of the other elementary schools, and even more so the middle schools, for your social emotional resources that you have here. And have my granddaughter that is social emotional and has that, I think you're getting people that are not just by choice, but are actually moving here in order to send them here.
Yeah, I would agree. Our staff is outstanding. So if that did answer your question, Mr. Schroeder?
Yes, thank you very much.
I have a question
Yeah,
related to that.
sure.
For a long time. Obviously, this is a good problem to have. I'll tell you, not having to pay anything back is really good. Out of the 500 kids, I mean, like, do you have how many of those kids, if any, have the secondary line of enrollment? They're going back to EDCSD this year, if any.
We don't have any.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have none. And so what Ms. Arsby is referring to is students who were at our online school who are projected to go back. And we don't have any. And we actually, as last year, most of our e-learning kids came to us prior to the end of the year. Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Any other questions on that? All right, let me move on to the next slide. All right, so one of the things that we have started this year is we have chosen to pilot what's a curriculum called Benchmark Advanced. And the reason why we're piloting it is the state has shifted in their practice on what we are approved to be able to teach. And so the program that we have been using the last couple of years was not approved. And so we kind of jumped to the forefront of the ship and went out and researched and found Benchmark Advanced. And so our district right now is piloting 3 different curriculums. They are piloting Benchmark Workshop, which is a K through 5 curriculum. It's very similar to Benchmark Advanced. It's got a little bit of differences, but not much. Benchmark Advanced is a K through 6 curriculum, which is one of the reasons why we push for that. And then they're also piloting Wonders, which is a different curriculum. We didn't choose Wonders because we've got a school in our feeder that does that. And they were not as strong in phonics, which is a really big need for our school. And so that's why we chose Benchmark Advanced. And the reason why we wanted to do this is we don't want to get to the point where then the state is telling us what we have to do. We wanted to use a pre-approved state one so we don't have to have a shift later on down the road. And so we like to pilot things. The other part of that is we got a bunch of free resources. And so we always like free. And so the district has purchased us the entire K through 6 curriculum, along with its intervention, along with its ELL components, along with the special education component. So it's this huge, massive, really large shipment that came into our building. And so that's what we are piloting. It's been a wonderful curriculum for us. It's been a big shift. I kind of talked a little bit about this in our PSP meeting. It's very different than what teaching looked like for our staff that's been here for a little while. It's very different than what teaching school looks like. And so it's been a big shift for them. In the past, I think there was a lot of rotations and going through different groups, and that's kind of gone by the wayside. The state has asked all of our kindergarten, first and second grade teachers to participate in a module called the Science of Reading. And so that's been where the shift has come from, and they're requiring that for all of our teachers. And so Benchmark Advanced aligns with that very well. And so what it looks like in the classroom, I would love if either Mrs. Duncan or Mrs. Jakubowski or Mrs. Brown, if you guys could share a little bit about that, what that looks like in the classroom, that'd be super. And you have to use your outside voice because you're far away.
I would say one of the biggest shifts for us is we're very accustomed to differentiating for every single kid or group, kind of meeting their level as best we could. And a lot of the new focus, not only with Benchmark, but with the Science of Reading, is grade level exposure for all kids, rather than pigeonholing them and assuming they maybe can't hit those mile markers. So we do a lot of whole group instruction where everyone is equally exposed to content. And then we're able to still pull small groups to work on individual needs. So it's more of a balance than just immediately putting them into their groups and assuming, even if it was based off data, what their needs are.
I kind of spoke upon it at the PSP, but it's really looking at the latest and the greatest research of how kids learn how to read. And you can't deny research, you can't deny science, and experts that are smarter than we are have all put their heads together and all made a curriculum that we can have faith that the kids are going to get what they need to be successful K through 6th grade. And it really allows us to be a whole unit as a school. A lot of the units are integrated within science and social studies standards. So it's not just picking up a fictional fairy tale book and teaching kids how to read. It's really hitting on different kids' interests and letting them explore. We are still able to really like differentiate within that. And so it's not just every kid having a small group reader every week. It's kids are doing word work, kids are doing readers theater, kids are doing a research project. It's really allowing kids to grow within passions that they're not just getting a small group reading book. That is just what we've done as teachers for a really long time. And really finding where we can get kids to grow where they are.
And I think the biggest thing for us too is we are, for the first time, we are aligned from K through 6. And so I'm looking at Lacey, who's got multiple kids in the building. So if we're doing the zoo, all of her kids are doing the same focus. It obviously looks different at the different levels, but the school is on one path. And so as they move through the building, it's that common thread all the way through. We've not had that since I've been here. So it's hard. I think it's a big shift for our students, but at the same time, I think they're going to grow like we've never seen them grow before.
It's very rigorous. So.
Yeah. So I've attached the webpage on there. So when we're done with this meeting, I will share out this presentation. Actually, I'll send it to the community. We'll put up on our webpage. So if you guys want to go and look at it, you're more than welcome to do so. All right. So any questions on that?
So the district is going to choose a district-wide literacy program eventually, right?
Allegedly, the district is going to choose 1, 2, 3, maybe 4,
Okay.
maybe 5.
When will they choose that? Like, I'm just wondering, like, are we gonna start this whole thing and it's gonna be great, and then we're gonna be told we have to do something else?
And so that was one of the questions our teachers have. So another reason why we went with Benchmark Advanced. And so it gives us a double shot because Benchmark Workshop is so very aligned with that.
Yeah.
And so if we are forced to go with Workshop, it's not very different. If we have to switch to Wonders, we may have to still supplement a little bit of the phonics, but it's still even not much different together. So any one of those 3 that we go down, that the pilots will be fine. But I think that we are strong enough in advance, and we've done this with Fidelity. We've met with all the requirements, and so we're pretty confident it's going to stay the same. But even if it shifts, we'll be prepared for that as well.
Okay, is there like a time or a year that they are?
So they need to make the decision about what next year looks like in December. And so, but we are keeping Benchmark Advanced through the remainder of the year, but the decision needs to be made in December because they have to purchase that so it's ready for the next school year. It has to be factored into the budget, which will be due in February.
And this may not be a relevant question, or it's definitely going to be a naive question. What program transitions from the Benchmark into middle school? So how does that transition? Because this is a curriculum we're talking about. So how does that transition to the middle school?
And that's the question that we always ask every year. And I know Miss Ormsby is at the Chaparral High School. And so part of the issue is it's hard to get the entire feeder on the same page. And so if you were to travel to all 5 of our different feeder schools, each one is very different. And so part of the problem with the middle school is then they have to find something that then fits it all in. We would love it if they would go down the same advanced piece as us, but Benchmark doesn't have anything. There really technically is only a few curriculums for middle school. Maybe you might be able to know better than I would.
I think it's such a melting pot in the middle school. I mean, ideally, the middle school is working really hard to try to, I work closely with Sierra too, and I work at the SHAP, and they're trying to really integrate that idea of the melting pot, right? And bring the strengths of all of them together. I don't believe at least in 7th grade language arts over there, that they are having like a set curriculum. It's more of like themes that the kids are then reading novels and things like that. So this really builds that strength in students to then bring that literacy over to then engage those pieces and have those bigger level conversations, which then for us at SHAP, it's all thematic literature.
And that's really what our goal is here, is we provide the foundation that's strong enough so no matter where the kids go, if they move to Singapore, they'll be able to. That's probably a poor example.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, and the big thing about this program is it's directly aligned to Common Core standards. I mean, we were just analyzing our end of the unit test, and every single question is aligning, and it's very rigorous. That is very similar to the state test that they're going to see when they get to 3rd grade.
Perfect.
So it's like little steps to get there until they get to that test.
And what's exciting as a parent is like in the past, a teacher might have talked to you a lot about like a reading level, right? Like your kid is at a level D or a level 12. And now when your teacher talks with you, they'll be talking about, well, these strategies are things we're working on and for them to work on next. And these specific skills that we're working on now and should do next. And all of that is aligned to the standard. So I think as a parent, it'll be easier to digest too, kind of what your kid is doing as a reader.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's just different. Yeah. All right. Any other questions on that? All right. So moving on to our next slide. And so this is our diagnostic results. Our district approved diagnostic. So we take a diagnostic 3 times a year. It's a large diagnostic. So there's fall, winter, and spring. And so this is our reading diagnostic that we took about 3 weeks ago now. And so this is a lot of the data that we'll be working off of. In addition to Benchmark has its own assessments as well. So this is kind of what an overview of what our school looks like. And so if you can look closely, I know Mr. Johnson and Mrs. Johnson and Mrs. Schroeder and Miss Liu, you guys have to like really squint your eyes. But we've got down here this kind of shaded lines. These are students who are 3 or more grade levels below. And so we have 42 students in this building that are there. Again, we have a pretty significant population of students who are in our SSN program. We also have a lot of students that are on individual education plans. And so that's a lot of where these students come in. Again, we have 12% or 59 students are 2 grade levels below. The majority of our students are right here. This 233 is right in the middle of that 1 grade level below, which is fairly typical for the fall diagnostic. And then we also have students, we have 70 and then 79. 79 is more than 1 grade level above, or they're at mid-grade level. And then we have 70 students that are pretty much right where they are, 70 students with 14% students right where they should be. And so our goal through the course of the year is to grow the green and then reduce the reds and the yellows. Our always model is to try to make it 80, 10, 10. So for 100% of our student population, 10% in the red, 10% in the yellow, and then 80% in the green. Now that's going to be a significant challenge, but that's always what we try to shoot for. So that's what our goal is essentially for reading. It's the same for math. So let me switch slides and show you what math looks like. And as you can see, it's fairly similar. The majority of our students are here in that yellow or the 1 grade level below. And again, that's fairly typical for the start of the year. And then we have 75, 2 grade levels below, 33 students, 3 grade levels below, and then we have 72 and then 38. And so those are the diagnostic results. And we will show these results again in the wintertime when our SAC meeting happens in February, so you can see how we've grown so far, and I'll be able to compare the two.
There's not really a difference with COVID and everything.
I know it's funny that you would say that. The district pulled some data the other day that showed us CMAS results, which is our state testing from pre-pandemic to last year, and they were identical. There was actually no difference between the two, which I thought was kind of fascinating. So our students did not come in significantly below as we thought. The difference that we are noticing with kids is the social emotional piece. They are really having a hard time with some of those interpersonal skills. They're having a really, really difficult time just being in public, and things are just overwhelming. That's the biggest change we see. Academically, our students are doing pretty well. Can you shut the door for me? All right, let me change the slide. All right, so what we need to determine as a group is our budget spending priorities. And this is where I need some feedback from our community about what our budget priorities are. In the past, we've had small class size has been a budget priority since I've been here. Sometimes we've have tech involved in that. Before we were 1-to-1, that was a big push for our building, but we are currently 1-to-1. Another example of our budget spending priority was especially last year was just teacher wellness. I think for lack of a better word was to focus a lot of our resources around taking care of our wonderful staff. And so I'd kind of love to hear from you guys either online or also in the room. What do you want to have our budget's priority spent? And the reason why I'm asking is, again, we've got almost, a little bit over $300,000 coming in, and where do we want that money to go to? Besides the, the yacht and, things like that.
I mean, coming from where I'm coming from, and based even on what you just said about the kids coming back from COVID, is just that social emotional piece. I don't know what that looks like, and I don't know where that money would go.
Sure.
Is that more counselors? Is that more something along those lines? I guess I don't have a.
I think teacher wellness goes hands in hand. Like I can't speak for you guys here, and I don't want to speak for you guys here, but I know my teachers are very overwhelmed right now, just you talking about kids social and emotionally.
Right.
Discipline, behavior is just, I know it's running my teachers ragged. And so I think that we can't support kids socially and emotionally if our teachers aren't taking care of socially and emotionally.
I'd like to speak up for that as well. I have teachers in my family and their horror stories are just so sad.
So I got teacher social emotional wellness, kids social emotional wellness. Miss Lou jumped in there and talked about small class size. I think that'll always be a priority here. Anything else?
Small class size and the support staff, the EAs and whatever staff it is, giving the social or mental support to the teachers, to the students, whatever, I don't know what staff members, what I mean, like just making sure that we have the staff where we need it.
Yeah.
So that they don't feel stressed, like, oh my gosh, I need extra hands here.
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, feel free, jump in.
So the teacher wellness, what does that look like? Like what would we be spending that on?
Say that here.
Yeah, so really for teacher wellness, some of the things that we do, copious amounts of food is always beneficial for our staff. They really enjoy to be taken care of that way. Some of the opportunities that we do is just spend money, just little teacher gifts, things like that. As far as the mental health goes, I'm not sure if we could afford another counselor. Just it's a hard to fill position there, but I'd be certainly open to explore that. And some of the other pieces, I'm looking over at you guys too. What else would you need?
Well, I would say probably everybody feeling like we're running ragged. Certain positions are hard to fill right now, very hard to fill, or ever feeling like we don't have enough support. Our mental health team is incredible here. It's never enough. But I would say, right, just some of the positions we need filled. So when we're not scrounging for subs and last minute stuff, everybody is wonderful about helping each other out. But right now the reality is hiring across the board anywhere is kind of difficult.
Yeah, and that's we have one more position. We just hired a new educational assistant and we have another one posted, which we are interviewing for tomorrow. And so once we hire that position, then we'll have a dedicated educational assistant for every single grade level, which also helps out immensely. So then they come in, they can help teachers make copies, they can take small group work, all kinds of things like that. So I guess that would factor into that piece as well.
So just promote it if you have somebody who wants a job. Promote you.
Mr. Johnson, did I ask your question?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So what I have now is just mental health for both students and teachers, and that mental health may be also purchased curriculum for our SEL too. I know that she is currently working through like inventing her own because I'm not sure that curriculum's out there, and it may also deal with some staff training around trauma and helping kids exit the pandemic. Okay. And then I have the small class sizes always, and then just support staff. And so that's, to me, the support staff is reducing the number of the student to adult ratio. So the closer you can get that to 1-to-1, the better that's going to be. And whether that's, educational assistance, whether it's, helping to get more parent volunteers in the building, so on and so forth. So I think those are pretty good priorities. And so I'll put those on. So our next agenda, I'll add those into that piece as well.
Him asking about teacher SEL, let me ask you again. I'm sorry, Josh, you can totally tell me I'm overstepping.
No.
Please, totally. I'm not going to be offended, but I guess I think about, we are in the ever constant game of throwing one more thing back on the teacher, right? Like, here's one more thing to do, one more thing to do. Is there one more thing that's being thrown at you guys that you feel like, hey, is there something that when we talk about budget, hey, that's just one more thing that it's an easy thing for us to take off your plate, but does that make sense what I'm asking? Totally.
I think that would be a good comment or a good discussion for our TLC. Because I think it's gonna look different between your role and it's gonna be different between your grade level. I think the biggest frustration for everybody is just that we don't have enough staff, and that's because we haven't been able to hire enough people. So I think we're getting those things taken care of, but I think that's a great thing that we could bring.
Yeah, and I think the crux of the issue is anytime that we have a staff member, like I said, we had a staff member test positive for COVID this morning and left at 9:00. And so then we have to cover her classes. And so in order to do that, we have to pull one of our other non-classroom teachers out. We pay our classroom teachers a pretty good amount of money to be able to do that. But then it also puts a kink in the system so that teacher then can't see those kids. It just is like an overarching effect. And we've had to do that almost every day during the course of the school year. It's incredibly taxing on the system. And so that's just, that's an overall problem of not getting substitutes. Once we get one more EA, that just gives us another couple bodies to be able to put people in there, so we're not impacting the same people all the time. I think I definitely would believe that, because we want our teachers to be able to take our days, but anytime you get tested positive, then you're 10 days out no matter what. So that's been a challenge.
Does have enough supplies? I mean, and just whether it be masks, sanitizer, wipes, I mean.
We may need to do a mask. We go through probably close to 150 masks a day. So we may do that. The district still provides us with masks. If that ever runs a shortage, we'll have to put the APB out, because like I said, we have certain individual kids that go through 6 masks in a day. Anytime they leave the classroom, it's gone. So there's somewhere outside, there is a large collection of masks somewhere. Somebody's got it. I don't know if it's a dog or it's a tree.
Is the substitute teacher issue just for, like, are there just not any substitutes?
Right. It's district-wide.
Yeah.
A lot of teachers, a lot of normal substitutes don't want to come in the buildings because of the mask requirement. We're,
Even just a sub-day, pretty significantly.
Yep.
Promoted, so I'm like.
for educational assistants, it's difficult to hire because the pay is typically lower. When you can work at Taco Bell and make more money, it's a challenge. So it's been tough for us. So we've been reaching out. We've got, all of our applicants have been parents, so who want to be here and be a part of the group. So we've been lucky, I guess, so far.
Would college student teaching assistants be an option?
Absolutely. If
I just wrote down high school volunteers. I
Because,
literally
and I
just,
said, I got a daughter that said, train to be a chemistry teacher.
Yeah.
She's just substituting her first class next week, and she's 23. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
and that's why I bring it up. Is that something that maybe the college students we want?
Yeah, if they have a college degree, all they have to do is be able to go through the district's protocol. Across.
Well, and she doesn't. So
Yeah.
she's
Yeah.
year 3 in that. So
Right.
it'd be something that,
The need for like volunteer stuff.
right.
Yeah.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah, but even the volunteers, again, that's a small group that meets with kids. That's stuffing folders. So any kind of opportunities. So yeah, any connections you guys put out for volunteers, I said staff or our community is welcome in the building. As long as they're wearing a mask, they can come on in. We'd love to have them because it's been a long time since they've been in the building. All right, so let's move along from there. All right, teacher update. Yes, it's your moment in the sun.
Yeah. Oh, we made packets because literally everybody had so much to share, so please do whatever you want with this. We just highlighted like a little blurb from each grade that we will share. So you are welcome to look through everything because we didn't feel right cutting anything that it was coming.
And then for those of you online, what I'll do is I'll just upload one of these and I'll put it on our webpage if you want to be able to see that. But these guys will go into,
If you want me to IM you the Google Doc, you can just put it.
oh, would you do that? Could you put it into?
Okay, so, we're just gonna say a couple things because everybody wrote novels and we don't have time for that, but, so kindergarten is really working hard on what school looks like and procedures. My daughter's in kindergarten and she's having a lot of fun doing that, so, for us, we're like, oh, but they're loving being in school and being with each other. First grade, during literacy, we just wrapped up our first reading unit where we learned about life cycles of living things. We observed toads, water frogs, thanks to this one over here. And
You're keeping them.
and hermit crabs, caterpillars we found on the playground. We also incorporated science, social studies, and literacy standards within a Johnny Appleseed Day, so that was really fun. Second grade, they're currently focusing on habitat, so you're gonna see these themes just build upon each other. In literacy, they explored many different texts about animals and how they survive in Arctic grasslands and rainforests. Third grade, wanted to highlight that they just did a playground cleanup awareness campaign for good citizenship. And Mrs. Crawford's class made posters and hung them around the school. To help all the classes encourage cleanup behavior.
Third grade, it's funny because we all actually wrote a lot about what we're doing in literacy because it's a new program. So feel free to read through it all, but we thought we would highlight a variety of things. I said life science has been our huge focus right now, and we have access to a program called STEM Scopes that several people in the district use. It's incredible. All the kids can log in, but it offers hands-on materials and a variety of media to use. And then in our STEAM special, she's also pulling from STEM Scopes. And that way there's a lot integrated. Fifth grade said they're also working on their science unit, life science as well. They worked on energy flow and ecosystems by making interactive food webs and growing plants in their windows. The biggest highlight always sixth grade is outdoor ed. They just got back. They were able to go and stay the night, which was amazing. They zip lined and did the night hikes and lived it up. It was awesome. Specials, we'll just kind of close up.
Yeah, it looks like art is exploring building under creative and expressive processes. They practice new skills and strategies in a variety of media.
Let's go down to the bottom because I added a little more.
And then students are working on studio practices of taking care of materials and projects and giving positive, honest, and specific feedback. Mr. Barton is awesome. He confers with every single kid about their artwork, and I've never seen an art teacher do that. It's very personal, and the kids grow a ton and just feel loved and cared about.
In music, Mr. Anderson, he again touched on every single grade, not just because I'm in fourth grade, but we were really appreciative. The kids usually get to go to a symphony field trip in third grade, and since our current fourth graders missed it last year, then he's organized 2 field trips so that they all get to go experience that since they missed it last year. I thought that was to be appreciated.
And in third grade's doing they're going to the Colorado Symphony. And the PSP's buying them shirts. So,
Nice.
Yeah, choir.
in choir, sorry, choir.
And then PE.
PE, they're working on just basic motor skills, fine motor skills, and how to play safe and be back together and play with other kids face to face.
And somebody had asked about COVID effects that we're seeing, right? And academically, it's all pretty consistent. Introducing them to correct socialization, I think, has been the biggest adjustment because they haven't all been consistently together. So PE is a prime example of like, holy moly, we're all together and playing a lot of games. We have to start over. So she's seeing that for sure. Like Josh touched on, wellness is one of our new specials, which is incredible. The kids get it 1 time a week. And Noelle Dunker is working on the difference between feelings and emotions. And she's able to differentiate it a lot by grade level. But the kids, with her help, then are able to kind of articulate why and how they're feeling the way they are.
It's amazing. Like, I would encourage you, if you could sit in on one of her classes with your student. She just did a session with the teachers. And I don't know if you ever get to that place where you get a massage and get tingly. Just her voice. I was like, keep on talking. Amazing. You just put me in another world. STEAM on his Abigail is doing an amazing job. Every time the kids come back, they built something. They're building and competing, and
Yeah.
it's so cool. And they're talking about it at home. So just all of those STEAM engineering challenges she's doing. And then library, the kids are getting to take books home, more than one book, and able to look at all the books and touch them. So that's a big thing. We had
Plastic
curtains,
tarps, yeah.
plastic tarps hidden hiding the books last year. So.
And quarantining them. She also has just organized 2 Battle of the Books teams, which is a big deal if you're familiar with that. So it's super excited. And then we got an update from special education as well. And it just adds on to what Josh was saying, that our population is highly impacted. SPED in particular, we have 3 case managers this year, which is more than we've had ever in my 10 years here. But the amount of new kiddos that are coming in that they need to test and collect data on and stuff has been really overwhelming. So they're busting their butts.
We kind of like it that way, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we wouldn't trade our population for anybody else. All right, do you guys have any questions for our teachers? All right, so from there, look at that. See, it's PSP time.
It's my new job.
Oh, yeah.
So you're taking over tonight.
Taking over tonight. So we just kind of went over, we just had the big fun run. Lucy said online, we've got number $23,000 raised on that, and that doesn't even include everything that the kids brought in today. So that's amazing.
What was
And
the
more
goal?
will straggle in, I'm sure.
Oh,
In my
absolutely.
classroom, they were saying.
Always.
What was the goal?
The goal was 15.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, we set it a little more this year without knowing.
We typically set our goal around 20,000 and usually meet it or come close to meeting it. This year we just weren't sure, coming back from COVID and hardships, or we didn't even know 100% if we were gonna be able to have a fun run. coming in August, like, are we gonna be able to do this? Are we not? Like, so we set the goal a little lower and surpassed it. And we're so excited.
Very neat.
Very, very good. And it went really well.
Yes.
Which is
We had so
always
much fun.
great.
It was our first indoor assembly in over 2 years, which was frightening, but we made it.
And like the first school-wide event that parents and I have been able to be at in so long, to like be out there and like see all the kids and like doing something fun, and it was, it was really good.
Restaurant nights have been going really great. We've got trunk or treat is coming up that we're just starting to plan, and we're going with the neighborhood as well this time. So Clark Farms is gonna get involved a little bit.
How does that work?
So trunk or treat will kind of run as normal as far as the trunks. We're gonna, we send out a thing to the Cherokee Trail family about any parents wanting to do a trunk, and then, or older kids or whoever it might be. And then the neighborhood side, obviously it'll be opened up to the entire neighborhood if they want to have a trunk at the school. But the HOA is going to be doing like a games and a jack-o'-lantern thing over in the pool parking lot. So they'll be able
So
to
we
come
kind of,
over.
we kind of combined because we had already had our trunk or treat planned, that we always do. And then Clark Farms HOA was also trying to
Plan
plan
a trunk or treat.
a trunk or treat or fall event. And I was like, hey, wait a minute, that's the same night as ours. Like, maybe
Yeah.
we can combine forces and make it a Cherokee Trail and Clark Farms community event.
So trunk or treat won't be here at the school. It'll be at,
It'll be
Trunk or
here,
treat
yeah.
will be here. So the trunks are gonna be in our parking lot, the school parking lot,
okay.
and then the games, the jack-o'-lantern.
Okay,
stuff is gonna be
okay.
over the pool parking lot.
Gotcha. Okay,
And then
sorry.
That's the
Food truck
street.
will
So
be somewhere
everything will
between.
just kind of be spread out.
Gotcha.
Just kind of all.
It'll be great marketing, like
Yes.
publicity for our
Yeah.
school, like we are a good school, and these are the cool things, and the cool kids that go.
And then for those of you online, our trunk or treat, because I know some of you are kindergarten parents, essentially the families come in, they decorate their trunks, and kids walk through, and instead of going to houses, they just go to trunks, and they will have some candy. There's typically food trucks there. Sometimes Christina dresses up, sometimes not. You know, you should never really know. And then it looks like there's going to be some stuff over there with the community as well. So it's really, really fun. We do it early enough to start where the younger kids can do it, then we go late enough where the older kids can come in. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. And for those of you that don't know, like our school like shows up to these events. Like,
So why
everyone will be here.
candy?
I know it doesn't look like it.
Yeah.
To the events, like our school shows up.
A ton of candy.
So is
Because
it,
the kids like to go around multiple times. too.
does it cost to have a trunk?
Not at all. So the
Okay.
only cost is gonna be your own candy, like
Okay.
how you wanna decorate, how you wanna, it's kind of all on you. So
Okay.
when I do dress up every year in an inflatable flamingo or not, that's all kind of on you. But
Okay.
you decorate, it's really fun. A lot of families come with like their, middle school or high school kids, and they do a trunk, and the parents do a trunk, and it's like a whole thing. It's a lot of fun. It's really
Thank
good.
you.
It'll be great. So we did that, and then we talked about some grants that we had already approved, some grants to approve. And just a big need right now is help with PSP. I'm leaving, this is my last year, so I think we kind of have that help, that like just having help with Donuts with Dudes and butter braids and the school dance and games night. We need parents. We need people to come and start kind of help not taking over in a sense, but helping out with that kind of stuff.
And
because-
you're passing the baton, like they can see the events before it's theirs.
Right, we just, so we really, that's a big need for us right now, is just parent involvement with PSP.
And so what she's talking about with the grants is we have some staff members can then write to our parent organization for different things they need in their classroom that we can't afford in our budget. So sometimes it's things that Service Home Schools. So our special education department has offered some things. Our librarian has asked for book bags. And so that's what they spend their money for. And PSP then fills those grants. And so that's what she's talking about when she's saying that they filled some grants.
And that's what all of our fundraisers help fund, is really the teacher grant. So, doing things like the fun run, that's what helps by, the shade canopy that flew away last year, and, literacy for first grade, and, things like that.
Right.
So,
And in the past, PSP has helped us with technology. That's how we got to be 1-to-1. They upgraded our sign out front to this disgusting old school thing that it used to be to now this high tech, colorful thing that's out there now. So those are just some of the examples of what they've done for us.
The next meeting's in November, if you can come.
Yep, it's actually directly before this meeting, and they bring snacks. Just saying, just put it out there. All right, so from there, we have a DAC update, but we don't have a DAC representative, and they have not had a meeting yet. And so I will get that information up. Typically, that's just the district accountability committee, and they usually have high-level meetings on district front. So I'm sure they'll be talking about some of the big rocks in the district is social emotional learning, the same as what we're doing. Literacy is another big focus, which is a surprise. Well, not really a surprise because we're focusing on that as well. And then the last thing is a professional learning committees, which we also have in our building, which is essentially teacher teams working to look at data to better support kids. All three of which we were doing prior to the district doing that. They just like to copy us, but I'm just biased. All right, so from there, just the meeting schedule. So we meet 4 times a year. And so now is a great chance to get out your calendars. So we typically like to meet on the same night as PSP. So then our members that kind of coincide. And so our next meeting here will be, I think it's in November.
November 16th.
Yeah, so
First meeting is November 16th, and we actually forgot to talk about what time we wanted to do that. Do we want to stick with the 5:30?
yeah, I think, yeah. So if you mark your calendars on November 16th, and then from there, we're into February is our next meeting after that. And so that looks like the 22nd. Yep, so that's February 22nd. And then the last meeting then is in April, which I want to say is, yep, the 26th. All right, so save the date. And again, we'll do the same options. We'll do it all year. So if you can make it virtually, if you can be in person has the benefit of snacks. At home is the benefit of home snacks, I guess. So if you guys want to do that, so November 16th, February 22nd, and then the 26th of April, and we'll have it at the same time. So you can just kind of mark that time out on your calendar.
So if we have any, before November, if we have ideas or want to collaborate at all, who do we reach out to?
You can reach out to me directly, or since now that Lacey's our chair, you can reach out to her, but it's probably easier to reach out to me than we can always come together.
Forward it to him.
Exactly. I'm always easy to get a hold of.
Just kidding. You can reach out to me.
All right. So from there, I think it's just open forum. And so just community wide, if there's anything that's happening, anybody online or anybody in the room, if you have any questions of me, this is now the time to ask. And if you can't think of something tonight, you can always email me. I'm usually pretty good about it. I try to get back within 24 hours. I usually try to do less than that just because I can't seem to get away from my computer ever. But yeah, so anything in the community.
Give me an example of something you're talking about.
One of the things in the community before was our carpool lane. We used to unload in that cul-de-sac, and that was a large deal. So we had community members that lived there, did not want our cars there. And so that was been one in the past. We've had talking about
Just general questions.
Just general questions. Yeah. Yeah. And as the year goes on, typically we'll talk about what our CMAS schedule looks like. We'll talk about our budget in the wintertime. When I get my budget, we'll go through that. We don't have to submit a unified improvement plan this year because we submitted it last year during COVID, and just kind of just different things. Are our kids going to get vaccinated? What's that going to look like? Are our teachers vaccinated? All those different questions come up. So
Are our teachers vaccinated?
we have 99% vaccinations. The only one that doesn't is we have one teacher who has autoimmune disease, and so she cannot. Other than that, we do have 3 new staff members that I don't know the status yet. I'm looking at you guys just helping me jog my memory. Yeah, we have 3 people that just started. I don't know their status yet. But there you go. And we have 0% of our student population is vaccinated. we have that as well. That's right. That's right. That's right. And so just as we were on outbreak status, we had one of our staff members contracted on pretty much the first couple of days of school. And then from there, we had enough students go out of that class that we had to do outbreaks. So they went online for a week. And then the way the CDC works is you have to be basically free of any positive cases for 30 days, which we just came off of like 2 days ago. And then we had we had a staff member today test positive. We had a student test positive today as well. I guess that was yesterday. So, but we won't be at outbreak status unless we start going into, multiple numbers of 10.
Are you finding that it's well, kids are kids, so that's going to ask a dumb question. So,
And that outbreak status is not something to be
Yeah,
concerned
it's
about, because I'll tell you that the Peter High School's on outbreak status as well.
Yep.
As are probably most of the high schools in the district and most of the middle schools.
Yeah.
It'd be difficult to contain anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and our students do a great job. I mean, our teachers clean all the time. Our students, wash their hands all the time. Our students, we have close to 95% compliance of students wearing masks. It just really is just a matter of circumstance, We wish we can control it, but we can't. So, any other questions? Anybody online? Any questions for you guys? Okay,
I
well,
don't have any questions. I do want to say that I love the new wellness special. I have 2 kids, like very opposite spectrums of expressing their feelings.
you actually have 3.
And yes, I have 3. Yes. And both of them come home. Every time that they have wellness, they come home and they have something to tell me about, oh, Miss Dunker did this, or Miss Dunker said this, or like I heard Debbie one time say, well, Miss Dunker says when you get mad, you're supposed to, and I was like, oh, girl.
I had my daughter try to do that when she was in trouble. You should really try this type of breathing, Mom. And I was like, girl.
Yeah, as a result of that special, all of our teachers have calm down spaces in the classroom where, kids can go to just to kind of bring themselves down. They've taught breathing strategies. I mean, some of the kids that have come through my office, they just don't know how to handle some of those feelings. They just can't express themselves. So they just get so angry and they react physically because they just can't express themselves. And so working through the language and teaching those kids, and eventually then the tide will shift, and we're keeping our fingers crossed about Christmas time where kids will be able to kind of figure it all out and be able to regulate themselves a little bit better, but it's coming.
Yeah.
It's definite need.
That's a
So,
good
I
resource.
personally, yeah.
And I'm curious to know, you guys can tell me. So my granddaughter is on the spectrum. She's autistic. And I'm curious to know, now that I'm hearing the challenges that you guys are going through, and is there a difference between somebody with those social emotional concerns and somebody coming back from COVID who hasn't had a chance to socialize, in first grade / kindergarten area? Because that seems difficult in your position to kind of say, okay, wait a minute. Can I have, the wellness that will really help with some of the kids coming back from COVID? And I think with autism, it's a little different, where it's like, oh, okay, that's a different strategy altogether. So
Yeah.
I would think that'd be hard to determine.
Yeah, I think that, you just have to know each child, the whole child,
Right.
I have a nephew that's autistic, and I have kids in my class that have never been in school,
Right.
And it's really just practicing the routines and the behaviors and making accommodations when you see fit,
Right.
Every kid is totally different, and that's what our job is to figure it out, and
Yeah.
we don't have, and I think our big job is to realize when we don't have it figured out, to add wellness and add these other resources.
And the reason I'm going there is because, and that goes back to your wellness, because that's a constant shift back and forth of trying to evaluate that many mental stereotypes that now you need to take care of your own and trying to.
Another benefit, actually, when you think of like wellness and STEAM and these double specials, is that teachers have a little bit more embedded professional development time. Like while the kids are at these specials, they have time with teams and to collaborate with like some of our people who are experts in that, right? Like our mental health teams and our special education providers, and with one another. So I guess in a way, it's supporting our own, social media.
It's also why we prioritize small class size. And so you're not having a class of 26, 27 kids. You have, even our biggest classes, we've got some classes that have 19.
Yeah.
And so you get that small of a class, and the teachers get to know the kids really, really well. And it's just, again, it goes back to just, filling some of those gaps those kids have. And our staff's good. We've got really, really talented staff members, which makes my job so much easier. I can't even tell you.
So out of curiosity, because I love the wellness, I wish you guys would have had it. My oldest, the struggles that he has, and that would have been so beneficial to him, right?
Yep.
But I'm wondering, so I'm just thinking big picture here. I'm not saying, hey, change wellness, but I'm wondering about incorporating aspects of sources and strength into that, like some of that vocabulary and things like that.
Ooh.
Because then, you talk about healthy activities. So sources of strength is an anti-suicide program that's been implemented at Chaparral, and actually I think we do it great.
Mhm.
Sierra does.
Sierra does it
Yeah.
as well. They took it on after we took it on, but it's an idea of recognizing healthy activities, medical access, family support. And I'm just wondering, like I'm not saying you have to change anything, but
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, like, could there be a connection there?
Even with the sixth graders, maybe prior to going to middle.
Yeah,
We
like just
do
to
do
connect those.
second step as well.
Yes,
So I
okay.
think that's what that looks like for us.
And I just don't know, yeah.
Yeah.
So our
elementary
program
level.
is second step, and Jane Steiner is our school counselor.
Yes.
She's amazing.
Mhm.
She will come in and teach her
Brilliant.
classes. And actually, she applied for a grant, and we have online access to that. So it's not the teachers filtering through all this curriculum. We can push play and then stop and have discussion.
So for those of you who don't know, Second Step is an anti-bullying program that we have that all of our teachers go through, our counselor goes through and introduces it to all of our students. And then they also do a lot of zones of regulation. So then kids then identify how they're feeling based on a different color. And so that's another thing that we have. And I wouldn't say all of our classrooms, but we're getting there. We're working through.
I didn't know that, and that's actually great to hear, because she'll come home and she'll say, I was bullied today. Well,
Right.
Yep.
the definition from an on the spectrum kiddo girl is different than what bullying might actually be. So it's kind of hard to.
Yeah.
And Jane is awesome because I've gotten personal emails from her.
Yeah.
Already.
Yep.
Say, I heard something at recess, and I'm wondering if it. What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tend to
Incredible.
find out before my kid tells me.
Yeah.
She is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to hear. I actually didn't know that.
We've tried to be kid-centered as long as I've been here. And it's, that's how it should be, for sure. Okay, look at that, 7:28. I love to be on time. So you guys at home, thanks so much. Mr. Johnson, you're in charge of snacks next time for yourself. You got to get some snacks next time.
Oh, you don't see them, but I have some.
You guys take care. Miss Leo, Mrs. Johnson, take care. Thanks so much. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Bye.
I said that, oh, no, okay,